I'm going to talk a little bit about searching and how to find things. And speaking of finding things, back in the mid-70s, I was dating a young lady you see her on the left. And through Facebook, about 5 years ago, we found each other again. We're now together, spending the rest of our lives together. So through Facebook and through the internet, we've reconnected, and I'm very happy together here in Florida. We have one little one, and there she is. She's waiting for me to come home, or for Robin to come home. And then once we're home, she just loves to just sit around, either have us pet her or just to have feed her a snack and so on. And she likes to dress up for Halloween as well. Okay, let's talk just a brief second about me. I speak to many user groups around the country. If you're nearby, I might even do it live. I don't do a lot of traveling. Unless you want to pay for my way, I'd be glad to do it. I do speak on Chromebooks. I talk on Windows 10, Evernote, learning resources for seniors, better searching with Google, which is the one we're doing today. I have one on ID theft, and I'm working on some more as well. I have a website, the Hewie.net, and also the Windows Special Interest Group that I run for the Central Florida Computer Society. All of my information there is in the WinSig section of that website. I record those. They're done virtually. You can sign up and get a link through my newsletter and join us online on the second Sunday of every month. And then the recordings are also available on the website. You can go visit and listen and watch and use them for your user groups if you wish. I've also started, I've become an enthusiast for the Chromebooks and have started a Chromebooks for Seniors website. Please take a look at that as well. But let's get started on the topic for this afternoon, the Google search page and searching. Okay, what is a search engine? This is the technical part of the presentation. A search engine is a website connected to a database that catalogs other websites. It will search the actual text of other websites. A computer search program, or a spider, follows the links on the web pages to regularly and automatically rebuild this database. So when you do a search, you're not searching the entire web in that split second. You're looking at a database where they're all not only listed, but they're also indexed, and there's some various ways to get to them quickly, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Top search engines, I'm not going to go through all of these, but you see Google has about 72% of the world's searches. Bing is second, but not even close. Yahoo, and then you'll see some of the other ones that are there. There's even one that says spyware, don't even use it. Okay, Google processes 40,000 search queries every second, more than 3.5 billion searches per day, and more than 1.2 trillion searches a year globally. Google has permeated our digital reliant lives to such an extent that even the word Google has become a verb. I'm going to Google it. Once you enter a letter, what happens is it then goes to starts the search engine. If I showed you my screen, it would have the Google in the center and then the box at the top. And as soon as I hit one letter, it actually shows it at the top. Now there's several things that you'll see underneath where that A is. You got all videos, images, news, maps, and more. So you've got, you can search for videos, you can search for images, you can search for news, maps, and more. You can, so if you do a search for something, you're going to see the number of results. But also, you'll notice on the right where it says settings, and you can have search settings, languages, turn on safe search, hide private results, advanced search history, search help. And then tools, you'll see that underneath the word all, you see anytime and all results. And I'm going to talk about each of these in the next few moments. In the time range, under any time, you have any time, past hour, past 24 hours, past week, past month, past year, or you can even set up a custom range. Where this is important is if you're searching for an answer about a change in Windows 10, you don't want to be looking at answers from 2 years ago or 5 years ago. So you might want to put in the last year. Or if it's some kind of a news event that happened in the last week or two, you might put in the last month. Or if you know it was just in the last couple of days, you might try the past week, and so on through those. So that narrows down your results right there to that only things that were posted or updated in that time. And it doesn't guarantee that it's going to be what you're looking for, but it certainly eliminates a lot of older stuff that you don't really want to look at and don't need to look at. And you can look at all results are verbatim. In other words, where it's exact for what you're searching for. Okay, so let's do some searching. How advanced search syntax will make your searches better. It'll reduce the number of results you have to look through. Get more relevant results that are specific to what you're looking for. You'll bring your relevant results right to the top. You'll access better information faster. And you'll gain a better understanding on how a search engine works. So, here are some hints. Number one, start simple. Ignore spelling. Google doesn't care about your spelling. If you're close enough and it understands the word, it's going to look for you. Use web-friendly words. Instead of saying my head hurts, say headache. Less is more. Simple 1 or 2 word search terms will usually give you the broadest results. So you start with a short search term, then refine it by adding more words. Use descriptive words. Add words found on resulting pages. This is an important one, and I don't find it in a lot of the hints and help that I've seen for using search engines. They don't mention this, and I think it's probably what helps me the most when I go looking for something and search for something using Google or one of the other search engines, is once I've put in my search and then I find something that's close to what I want, I look at that page and find some other keywords that fit what I'm looking for, but aren't the ones I've been using. So it gives me some other ammunition to narrow down my results. And don't worry about case, uppercase or lowercase. The search isn't case sensitive. So even if you type it all in lowercase, even if it's an abbreviation, it's not going to matter. And so don't waste time trying to capitalize and make it uppercase and lowercase and so on. Just type it. And don't worry about punctuation. Now, a couple of these are used, and some it won't let you use. So for the most part, don't worry about them because the search engine pretty much ignores them. However, the asterisk sometimes will mean include all. It's a wildcard type of thing left over from the early DOS days and so on. So there are sometimes, and the parentheses sometimes are used, but for the most part, punctuation isn't required either. Okay, start simple. I belong to the Sarasota Technology User Group, and I wanted to look up something about the group, and so I put in their acronym, which is STUG, S-T-U-G. When I did it, they didn't even show up. All I see are thanks. Okay, so I started out simple, and it didn't help me. So I see that there's tanks there, and I don't want anything about tanks, so I put in STUG, and then I put a minus tank. That means find wherever STUG is located, but if it has the word tank, don't show it to me. And immediately, what's the top one? It is the Sarasota Technology User Group. Now, the second one is meeting Sarasota Technology Users Groups. So, okay, we're getting closer. Now we got Stug in Sarasota. Bingo, there's a whole bunch of information about the group. And now I've found and narrowed down. So let's go back to where we started. We started when we put the word Stug in. You'll notice it says there's about 5 million results. When we put the minus tank, it cut out and it got us down to about 500,000. And now we're down to 14,000 with the word Stug in Sarasota, and all of the ones that we want are at the top. Might not give us all of what we're looking for, but it certainly has narrowed it down and it's gotten us into the area in which we want to find the answer. Quotes. Use quotes for exact phrase. I was born and raised in Utica, New York. Utica had a baseball team when I was a little kid, a minor league baseball team called the Utica Blue Sox. I wanted to look up some information on it, so I typed in Utica Blue Sox. I got 61,000 results. If I put that phrase, Utica Blue Sox, in quotes, I've got it now down to 20,000 results. So by using the quotes, it's saying, okay, the top one, if it has the word Utica, if it has the word blue, and it has the word Sox in it, or any combination thereof in any order, or if they're not even together, if they're on the page, it's going to show up. When I put the quotes there, it needs the exact phrase. Okay, so use phrases. Okay, in college, I had a roommate who wrote a movie called Nothing in Common. And, you know, I'm getting older and sometimes I don't remember things. So I couldn't think of his name off the top of my head. I said, okay, who wrote Nothing in Common? Because that was the movie script that he wrote. And two people wrote, they were co-writers, Rick Podell and Michael Preminger, and Mike Preminger was my roommate in college. So, okay, good. Now I've narrowed that down. And so I've got Mike's name. So now I click on Mike Preminger, and there's all of his information. And I found out that he appeared on Johnny Carson several times. He became a comedian. There's information about the movie. There's information about Mike. There's some information of where he is and some of the things he does and what he's done and people he's been involved with and shows he's been involved with. So it got me right to what I wanted by just knowing the name of the movie that he co-wrote. What you want to use is what's called Boolean Search. Boolean Search is a way to organize your search using a combination of keywords and the three main Boolean operators, and, or, and not, to produce more accurate and more relevant results. There's also a couple with parentheses and quotes, and I kind of showed you that as well. So I want to solve a problem. I want some printer help for HP. And so I type in HP printer help. Well, what happens? First top one's an ad. So I don't want to pay any attention to that because I don't know what or who they are. Boy, I had to go all the way down to here to get past the ads. Support HP.com, US-Eng, so it's English products, printers. Okay, so that's a good possibility what I want, but really what I want is support at HP. So that's all the way at the bottom of what you're showing on the screen, or several items down. So to get what I wanted, that really wasn't a good way to do it. So the top site is not always the best or even safe. So let's say I'm looking for the HP printer error code list. Okay, when I look for that, there's a support at HP, but notice it says HK-EN. Well, that stands for Hong Kong English. That's probably not where I want to go. But then there's several here. There's alllaser.com, and I'm not going to give them advertising, but you'll see that there's several there. And I've had friends that have gone to some of those thinking they were clicking and getting help from HP, and they ended up talking to some overseas or connecting to some overseas place where they type in, I need some help. They get a pop-up and they get somebody that wants to chat with them, and then they want to get in and look at their computer setup, and then they want to charge them $150, and they're not in there, and the person that did the searching is thinking they're talking to HP, and they're actually talking to some third-party company that's got nothing to do with HP, except they were able to get high on the list. They know the tricks of the trade and what that's called the search engine optimization, SEO. You know, there are certain tricks, and Google tries to change those on a regular basis so these people can't outsmart them and go to the top, but a lot of them do. And so the one we really wanted was support HK, would be the Hong Kong one, and that's where you would go for this one. But it would be difficult to try to kind of figure that one out. Okay, file types. Let's use the file type colon operator. So I'm going to search the Sarasota Stug website, and I want a PDF dealing with the Stug Sarasota, not necessarily their website, but any PDF dealing with the group. And you'll notice that many of those have a PDF. Actually, the top two do. So I'm finding some kind of a PDF that's talking about the Sarasota user group. You can find related pages. So if I wanted to find something to do with the Rochester Computer Society Incorporated.org, RCSI.org, but I want to find another user group, I just put in related colon and then the website that I know about, which is the Rochester group, and bingo, I've got listings of many other user groups. So using related, you're going to find similar websites. If you're tracking packages, you could track UPS, FedEx, DHL, or USPS packages. All you have to do is copy and paste the tracking number into the Google page or into the Google box, and said find carrier, or just click on it, and you'll get all the information about that package. And it'll tell you where it is, where it moved from, how it changed hands. I've got a package coming this week that's coming via DHL from somewhere up in the Northeast, and then it's coming down, and it hit Florida today in Orlando, and then it's being transferred to the Postal Service, and the Postal Service is going to take it from Orlando to Tampa to Bradenton and deliver it to my house on the 13th, according to their website. How about getting the time? Have you ever thought, well, gee, what time is it in New Orleans, or what time is it? I've got some friends in London, and I need to get an answer from them about something. What time is it in London? If you just type in time, colon, and then put the word London, the city, or the city state, it'll show you the time. So you don't have to go to some website that and do a search to find a clock program to be able to put in where you're looking and to see what time it is. You could just do it directly from the Google box or the Google search box. How about currency exchanges? I'd go looking for an exchange website, and usually it had some kind of a calculator in it, and you put in how much in dollars, and then what do you want it in? Well, if you just type in $200 in pounds, it then automatically will answer you and come up with that equivalent. Now, I did this several months ago. I don't know if if it's accurate as of today, but it'll still give you an idea of how to do it. Check the weather. I went to a conference in Northwest Florida at the Northwest Florida Association of Computer User Groups in Niceville, Florida, which is up in the panhandle between Tallahassee and Pensacola, Florida. If you're familiar with the Florida and the way it's shaped up in the panhandle, once you get past Tallahassee, you actually change time zones. So I wasn't sure not only what time it is, but it's a little bit colder up there. So I typed in weather Niceville, Florida, or I put in weather and something from their zip code, but I did put Niceville, Florida, and I saw that it was about 20 degrees colder at night than it was here, even though we're both in Florida. So it's a good way to check the weather either by the zip code or by the city in which you're going to or you're interested in. Get real-time quotes. I used to work for a company called Flanagan Enterprises. They were Big Daddy's lounges and liquor stores in South Florida. Well, actually, they were all over Florida at the time. And every once in a while, I like to kind of look to see how they're doing. And I read some information about the corporation and so on. And so I put in stock BDL, which was their letters, and bingo, all of the some information plus links to that corporation shows up. So if you're interested in some company or you own some stock, instead of going to some program to find out where the stock is today, you can just type in stock, its letters, and bingo, there's your information. Speed test. I just learned this in the last week. If you type, I used to always type in speed test I could never remember whether it was .net or .org, and so sometimes I got to it and I didn't, or I had some other ones. I'd go to UCLA. Anyway, I'd do some others. But if you type in speed test in the Google box, at the top it's going to say, okay, here's what a speed test is. There's a blue box that says run speed test. You click that, and bingo, you get an internet speed test of, first it looks at the download speed, then your upload speed, and then it gives you a result. And that was my result here just a few days ago. I have fairly fast speed. I get 111.2 megabits per second download. Uploads about 10% of that, about 11.4. And I'm thinking of switching to a different company where their download and their upload is the same, and I'm going to buy 150. So I'm going to get 150 down, 150 up. And then you can click test again. But I can just get to speed results to find out how fast my computer is. And I know you're all going out and checking it right now. But you can just go and just type in speed test in the Google box, and you'll see that information at the top. Hit that blue run speed test, and you'll get your results. Now, the program I use a lot is speed test by UCLA, and you can see that I got pretty much the same results. Results always vary a little bit anyway. Depends on which way they go, where they're going to, and what they got to go through. But you'll see, instead of 111, it's 114. Going up was 11 point something going up, coming to upload, and it's 11 point something here, 0.75 by UCLA. So they are comparatively the same. Okay, another thing when you're doing your searching, use the word or you can use the pipe symbol. And that's on mine, that's on the backslash. It's the uppercase of the backslash. It's just a straight line. So you can use either one, and it stands for or. So in this case, I said, okay, LED or LCD. Well, I got about 83,000 or 88,000 results, but you can see the top, you'll see a little bit of information at the top. It talks a little bit about it. You can click on that, LED versus LCD, digital trends. Or the top one underneath that is LED versus LCD, which is better by CNET. What's the difference between them? And so on. So just by putting the word or in there, I can compare two things instead of spending a lot of time looking at what LEDs are and then what LCD in TVs, what the differences are. They're comparing. I'm finding places that already did the comparisons. Or you can use the VS for versus. Okay, how about a mini USB versus a micro USB? Well, it shows me some pictures of what they are, the differences between them, and then some information about it. But the pictures are what the important thing is. So when someone says a mini USB, you see that's the one that's a little bit bigger, and the micro is the one that you'll see on a lot of phones these days. And then it talks about the differences between them. Error messages. You get an error message and you want to find out what it means. What's wrong? Well, the first thing I do is I will make I'll do the snipping if I can, or I'll write down what the error is exactly. Because if I've got to ask somebody or if I got to search on it, I can't say, well, it said something about there was an error. Well, that doesn't help anybody, including you, find the answer. So in this case, what I did is I snipped the entire error message, and you can print it out or you can post it up on the top of your screen while you're looking. And it said, Firefox is already running but not responding. To open a new window, you must first close the existing Firefox process or restart your system. And then you hit OK. Well, I don't understand, and this kept happening to me. So I typed in the box, because you can't copy and paste from that error message. Firefox is already running, but is not responding. I thought that was the important part of what I needed to find out. And I found 1,350,000 results. But don't forget, one of the things that I talked about is it looks up all those words in any order. So I put it in quotes. Now it dropped to 11,900 results. Wow, what a difference. And now we're narrowing it down. And now the top one is from Mozilla, which is the company that produces Firefox. And it's an error message. And so that would be the first one I'd go to. The second one is also from them, and so is the third one. And then the fourth one is How to Geek, which is a great website that I'm familiar with. And then also, see where the next one down, it says solved. Firefox is already running but not responding. And the word solved is in the brackets. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So we've got a lot of answers. We got it quickly just by putting quotes around part of that error message. Add the word solution or solved to eliminate those with a question and no answer. A lot of times when you put like an error message in, what happens is it will go to a lot of forums where somebody's asked that question. But if nobody gave an answer, or if the answers weren't really good and it really didn't solve the question that somebody else asked that you're trying to get the answer to, you're wasting time. So if you put the word solution there, you're more likely to find where somebody's actually answered the question and has helped somebody else. Refine more by choosing tools and a time period. Remember, I talked about that earlier. So let's take a look. We're looking at this action can't be completed because the other program is busy, and I put solution in there. And then I put tools, and then I put in past year. And then it gives me some answers. Well, let's go back and just talk about that a little bit more. So remember that under tools, under the time, you've got past year, you could do past month, and so on. So depending upon if you're looking at something that's been around, a program that's been around a long time, you might want to make it the past year or the past 2 years or all answers. But if it's something that's happened in the last month or so, it affects a program, or it's an event that happened within the last month, then you want to say within the last month or even the last couple of weeks or last week or last even couple of days. Okay. Use the asterisk as a wildcard. The other day, I was thinking about a song, and I remember the song, and it said something about trombones, and it said something about parade, but I couldn't remember exactly what the words of the song were, and I really wanted to know not only what the words were, but what the song was. And so I said trombones, asterisk, or anything in between, and then parade, and I put quotes around it. So what I'm looking for is trombones, the word parade, and anything in between them, but it's got to be in that order. I found 238,000 results, but the top one says 76 trombones is a signature from a song. And if I click on some of those, it actually gives me the, let's see if I put that in the slide. No, it actually would give me the song. One of them had a link. It played the song, and I started singing 76 trombones got the best of me, and it haunted me for days, and now will haunt you for days as well. Sorry about that. You can use the word define to learn the meaning of a word. It's slang included. So here's the word perplex. So I said define perplex. Well, it not only gives me, it breaks it down into syllables, it breaks it down into sound. If you're familiar with dictionaries and how you read the sounds, back when I was learning how to speak publicly, they explained, and I can't even remember the words, it explains that the PER and so on. Anyway, how to say the word, but there's also, you'll see a little speaker there, that if you click on that and you have speakers and you have the sound turned on, it will actually say the word as well. So all you have to do is put define, colon, and then the word you're looking for. It will not only give you how to say it, but it'll also say it for you if you want, and give you the meaning. And then there'll be other answers below. A calculator, you can bring up the calculator on your computer, but you got to go looking for it, and usually it's an icon somewhere on your desktop, and by the time you find it, you could have gotten the answer by just going to Google. And probably what you've been doing, if you can't find it, you go to Google, you type in calculator, and it finds a website that has a lot of calculators, and you click on one, and it either wants you to install it, or it's an online calculator and you have to work it. But if you just put a quick calculation in that search box, it'll do the calculations for you. So I put 2,500 plus 1,500. Bingo, it came up with 1,400, and also gave me a calculator to play around with. I wanted to play with the numbers at all. So very quickly, you can get a calculation done just from your Google search box. Number range. You can search for a range of numbers. Note there's 2 periods between the 2 numbers. So I said, well, I want the number 1 songs, 1958, 1960. And what it did was it went out and found where there were lists of those songs that were number 1 songs between 1958 and 60 on several of these links, or it found one of the years within that time period. So again, using that search engine Google box, it helped me find what I was looking for without having to start looking for all kinds of information and try to narrow it down. It did it immediately just by putting 2 dots between the years. Not ears, years. Okay, site specific. Use the word site in the operator search only within a certain website. If Tony's online, my apologies for using you as an example, but Tony DeLello is one of my contacts with the Rochester Computer Society. And so what I said, well, I want to look at their website and I want to find out instances of his name. And bingo, it listed all of the instances of his name on their website. There were 61 results. Now, some of those might be the same page, so it might not be on 61 different pages, but it's 61. It found answers for it in 61 places. I did it with another name and there were 138 results from that same organization. Do you have a UPC code? Well, you don't have to scan the code or find a place where you can scan the code. Just type in the UPC code and it will go out and probably find it. I put in a code. I happen to have a box of something on my desk when I was putting together this presentation. It was a Seagate backup external 5 terabyte hard drive. So I just took the UPC code off the box. I typed it in Bingo, and that's what it shows me. And then it shows me where it's, and you can see that there are different places where you can buy it or explain something about it. But just by putting the UPC code in that Google box, I didn't have to go searching all over and put in Seagate backup or Seagate anything. I just put the numbers in and it knows what it is. Search with a possible word. This kind of threw me because I didn't think this would work when I tried it. Robin had her phone was causing all kinds of grief for me. She'd call me on the phone and we'd be talking. All of a sudden her voice got, I could hear parts of words and not hear parts of words, and it sounded like she was talking slow and bits and pieces of stuff. And I call that, I said it was a muddled voice, muddled tone. And I said, and I couldn't think of, I didn't know what word to use instead of muddled. So I said, cause of muddled voice calls. And I had 4,390,000 results. But I don't like the word muddled, so let's find another word that's similar to muddled and see what we get in our search. And you do that by putting the little curly Q in front of the word that you want to find similar terms. So the cause of something voice calls, and it wants to be something like muddled. And so I got recognizing and categorizing symptoms of voice quality problems, what affects voice quality in VoIP calls, 5 curable causes for poor VoIP call quality, troubleshooting VoIP, and so on. So I've got some answers to look at just by almost coming up with the right word, but not quite. Using reverse image search, you want to identify an image. Robin found this really neat little piece of pottery, or I don't know what you call it, but anyway, she was in a garage sale and found this and really liked it and wanted to get some other pieces similar to it. So what we did is we went to images, and if you notice over on the right, when you go to images, it gives you a little camera there next to the search, you know, the eyeglass, the magnifying glass, but there's a camera there. And that means search by the image. So if you click on that, it says, okay, are you going to paste an image URL, or are you going to upload an image? In other words, if it's on the web, you can just put in the URL where it is. In this case, I took a picture and then uploaded it. And you can see on the right, I've got a yellow line or a box around the particular picture that I took. You'll notice some other ones out there, some other pictures. Those are ones I tested and I couldn't get this to work. So it doesn't work all the time. But in this case, it did, and when I clicked on it, I uploaded it, and then it searched. And what it found, it says, okay, this is a figurine of some sort. And then it showed me a bunch of visually similar images. And as I'm zooming in so you can see it better, notice that there's another one very similar to it. And when I clicked on it, it says that's a vintage Pendleton rabbit figurine. That's a good find, a Pendleton figurine. And then when I put Pendleton in the box to do a search under images, look at all the ones I found that were all from the same company or producer of that particular Figurine, and so there were a lot of different ones. So she started finding them and made a collection of them. So just by taking a picture of something, I was able to narrow down who produced it and find other things that we could start looking for to add to that. So your search time should be more productive now, hopefully. And so you're following the maze of finding your answers, and hopefully you find your results. So at this time, John, do we have some questions?
Move my mic down. Yeah, we do. And first off, I'll say you did it again, Hewie. That's old dog learning new tricks. Thank you so much. All right. You want the hard one first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does Google search the dark web?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there such a thing as a valid dark web search?
You know, I saw something on Kim Commando not too long ago, and she talked about that, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but you might go to commando.com and do a search, and you might find an answer to that.
Okay. Here's a review question. You showed us on there the almost symbol.
Yes. It's a tilde. And on my keyboard, it's just below the escape key on the to the left of the one, but it may be on a different spot on your keyboard.
Yeah, looks like a little wave.
Yeah, it's called a tilde.
That's fancy. How about trying to search for a female, but she's gotten married since you knew her?
Finding names has become more difficult over time because of privacy issues. There was a time you could type in a phone number and actually get a reverse lookup fairly easily. Now that's become much more difficult. There are services out there that charge for that, and they're not cheap, and you don't always know if you're getting one that's really up completely legal, and if they're going to actually give you the information you're looking for. Try to your best bet is actually go to Facebook and search Facebook using their maiden name and maybe the city, and you're more likely to find them than just looking it up. If they're trying to hide and they're not using Facebook, most likely it's going to be difficult. But again, search with their maiden name, because they may have gotten divorced anyway, and they've reverted back to their maiden name, or they may include their maiden name as part of their name, and do a search that way, and also add in the city where you last knew they were residing. That might help as well.
That's good. As we teach in computer, a lot of times things that we teach for one thing is applicable to another. Are a lot of these search techniques good for Bing and DuckDuckGo?
Absolutely.
I didn't want to step on when this is a Google presentation, but
no, it was more of a search engine, but Google gets the attention, so that's why I used
right.
And I used Google to do it. But yeah, the Boolean search is a Boolean search, and you're going to find that on most of them. They may not have the same, like the define and so on. I be honest with you, I don't use most of them to do that, so I've never tested it. They may have their own. Just go into their help and get some. You may find some answers, and they may do some things that shorten things up too. And which brings up a good thing. So that's a really good question. It leads me into something a little bit different. If you don't find your answer in Google, try one of the other ones. They all don't have this. They all don't look at the same information. So if you don't find what you're looking for in Google, try Bing, try DuckDuckGo, try Yahoo search. Try others. It may float to the top better, or you may find it easier doing that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. I was thinking just oh, also, you know, if for some reason Bing or DuckDuckGo doesn't do it, it will shortly, because what I've experienced is that what one browser does, the other one will do, and then the other one will pick it up, and then another browser will add something new, and then another browser adds that. So they play this game back and forth.